Well, thank you, Ben. I'm super excited to be here today and to announce that Google is giving Cornell off space to get their new engineering university up and running. This all happened because of the passion of Mayor Bloomberg, and he's always had what I like to call a healthy disregard for the impossible. Now, whether he's greening the entire city or boosting the graduation rates or founding a company, he sets big ambitious goals and he usually hits them. Personally, I've learned a lot from him about management, and especially his bullpen, which I was inspired by enough to work on building my own bullpen at Google, so thank you. I also hear he's learning to code, so I'm hoping I can teach him a thing or two to return the favor, if I can remember how. Now, being with you all today, we have lots of computer science students in the room, and it reminds me of my time as a PhD student. In 1995 or so, I was trying to decide what to work on. And one night, I woke up from a dream and thought I could download the whole web and just keep all the links and reverse them. Now, this is not the normal kind of dream you might have, but it was a pretty intense dream, and I stayed up for several hours, and this really happened. I wrote down all the things I would need to do and trying to decide if it was really possible. And then I went to my advisor, Terry Winograd, and I said, I want to download the whole web. And he said, okay. And he said, okay, actually, the critical part was he said, okay, even though I thought it would take a few weeks. He just, sort of smiled and said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And he preferred that over many other crazy ideas I had. So that's how Google started. And there are grad students all over the country now having dreams, waking up, wondering if they're possible, then working to make them a reality. But simply, there's just not enough people doing that and trying to change the world using technology. There's just very few people doing that. And that's why what's going on here with Cornell is so important. The phone in my hand is more powerful than my desktop computer was not that many years ago. That's all thanks to Moore's law. Our computers are getting constantly faster, cheaper, and smaller. Even those of us who work in technology, we have a hard time imagining exactly what the world's going to be like, 5, 10, or 15, or 20 years from now. But what we do know is that we want more of the best minds doing that imagining for us. Technology gets a bad rap sometimes, but the truth is technology has been responsible for pretty much every social and economic advantage mankind has ever seen. We'd all be hunters and gatherers without technology. Diseases have been cured, huge numbers of lives have been saved, all because of technology. Think about all those young kids alive right now. Some of you may even be parents of those young kids. I know I am. By the time all those kids are ready to drive at 16, I'm sure technology will be able to provide self-driving cars that can safely drive and teach those kids what they need to know. In the US, more 16-year-olds die from car accidents than any other cause. So that's a big deal. And we've been working on this area. We recently made an amazing video of a blind man using one of Google's prototype self-driving cars. Now, we've seen it time and time again, generation after generation. Technology continues to do more to improve lives and to transform lives. And the truth is, what seems a little far off to the future to us now is really right around the corner. Future becomes present, tomorrow becomes today. Faster now than any time in history. Now, take translation. We used to buy our translation services at Google, and they just weren't as good as we would like them to be. So we decided to build our own, and we met with an expert in the field. Sergey and I argued that we could fix the problem in a couple of years, and he laughed at us. He laughed out loud and said it was impossible. But then he said he would give it a shot. And it did take a little longer, but 8 years after we started Google Translate, it's now possible to translate between any 2 of 64 languages, including Hindi, Arabic, Chinese, in an instant. And that's actually 4,032 different pairs you can translate between. It's amazing. You can translate anything from anywhere on any device for free. Truth is, things we used to think were magic, we now take for granted. The ability to get a map instantly. to work on a project with people half a world away at any time, or to watch a video out of millions on YouTube. Even to make a YouTube video yourself and broadcast it to the entire world. I believe that by producing more and more innovative technology, products that change people's lives deeply, we will spur the progress that changes the world. It's people that really drive this technological process. When we put the best, most innovative minds to work today, we end up with the best possible tomorrow. The problem is, only a small number of minds are working in our field today. Say there are around 1% of people focused on breaking ground in engineering and computer science today, maybe more in some countries. But the point is, it's still tiny. Yet look at what that tiny minority has achieved. Now imagine if we could double that number trying to change the world using technology. I think we could roughly double human progress, and think about how much more of a meaningful difference we could make. More people devoted to technological advancement, more minds turning, more people waking up in the middle of the night with a crazy idea that just might change the world. This is one small step to getting us there, but it's the small steps we take along the way that lead to the biggest change. Thank you. Now, I want to introduce the man who needs truly no introduction, Mayor Bloomberg.
All right, thank you. Normally, when they say needs no introduction, they then give one. I was actually a bit disappointed that you didn't. Anyways, who would have dreamed 18 months ago when we announced our Applied Science Campus competition right here at Google that we would be back here today announcing this incredible news? Google, as everybody knows, is one of the world's most innovative companies. And our applied science competition, we think, is one of the most innovative economic development strategies any city has ever undertaken. And the question is, what happens when you marry them? And we are about to find out. Now, I don't think there's any doubt that Google made the right decision when they moved here back in 2006 and established the largest Google operation outside of Mountain View. That really helped jumpstart New York's now booming tech center. And I think Google has made the right decision again today by offering to provide the first home to our city's first major new applied science campus, CornellNYC Tech. When we envisioned creating such a school in our city and created the competition for it, we always expected the school to have close ties to the private sector. And today, Google is getting in, certainly on the ground floor. They are going to be part of helping Cornell and Technion Israeli Institute attract and, starting in September, train the next generation of top engineering talent in our city. And Google is sure to benefit as a result. This is also a great move for Cornell and the Technion Israel Institute of Technology. It puts them in the first wave of students in the New York City headquarters of one of the world's most exciting companies, right at the heart of one of our city's real digital hotspots. For those of you that were with us a couple weeks ago, the Made in New York Digital Jobs map that we launched shows that. And I think it's fair to say Google's location has a lot to do with that. And so does the fact that many of our homegrown tech startups are located in Chelsea and the Flatiron District as well. Now, the video that you just saw about New York's lively tech scene, which we saw a few minutes ago, was made by one of the industry's networking hubs, New York Tech Meetup, whose managing director, Jessica Lawrence, is here with us today. Jessica, where are you? Thank you very much. Great job, particularly the guy at the beginning and the end. Loved it. I think it also shows that this is an industry where synergy and community really count. CornellNYC Tech is a startup in our city, and they've started in definitely the right place, and I think at the right time, and I'm sure it's going to make students ecstatic. This relationship will be powerful for Google and for CornellNYC Tech, and just as powerful for the rest of the city. the campus that we're partnering with Cornell and the Technion Israeli Institute to build on Roosevelt Island, and the second applied science campus that a consortium of schools and corporations, including New York University, IBM, and Cisco, are developing in downtown Brooklyn, have the potential to both be real economic game changers in our city. They're each going to spin off thousands, hundreds of thousands of jobs and thousands of startups over the next few years. A few years ago, New York City's tech sector was barely on anybody's radar screen, if you remember, but fast forward to today, thanks to Google and to others, it's also our homegrown, hometown tech firms. Tech employment has grown by 30% in our city, and today we're second only to Silicon Valley as a tech center, and we don't like to be second to anybody. Google and CornellNYC Tech are going to help us seriously close that gap. And I think it's great for this country that what's taking place in California keeps growing, and we want to make sure that the country has the same kind of growth here on the East Coast. This is the future of our country and of all of the citizens of this country. So on that note, let me ask City Councilwoman Jessica Lappin, who represents CornellNYC Tech's eventual permanent home on Roosevelt Island, to say a few words. Jessica?
Well, good morning, everyone. This is about making the impossible possible. And it's the kind of partnership that I dream about, not so much downloading the web, but exciting partnerships like this one. And as we saw from the video, this is a city that people have come to for our arts and our culture, our universities, and yes, our food. But this is one more fantastic reason that people will come, stay, work, and play in our city. And Google, thank you for providing this home, but we really welcome you on Roosevelt Island, Cornell Technion. When you open there and make it your permanent home, this is a fantastic thing for the island and for the city. So thank you.
Jessica, thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't introduce the people who really came up with this idea. Deputy Mayor Bob Steele, Seth Pinsky from Economic Development Corporation, and Rachel Stern, our Chief Technology Officer. I'd love to tell you it was my idea, but it was not. These are the people that understood what the future required, but also had the vision to try to do something about it rather than just sit around and complain. So your legacy will go on for decades, and thank you all. And we're going to hear about that from the president of Cornell University, David Skorton.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for the leadership that has brought all of us here today. And despite your very modest ways, we know that you're a visionary, and we know that this was your vision. And it's a pleasure and a great honor to do a small part in bringing this vision to life. I also want to thank the elected officials who are here today, Representatives Maloney and Nadler, and Council Member Lappin, for your extraordinary support of this project from the very beginning. I also want to take the first of many occasions to recognize our terrific academic partners at the Technion Israel Institute of Technology. But the biggest thank you today, obviously, goes to our hosts here at Google. From Larry Page and Ben Freed to Eric Schmidt, Alfred Spector, and everyone we've worked with over the last several months, your commitment to CornellNYC Tech and to the growth of the tech industry here in New York City is unparalleled and greatly appreciated. The Tech Campus launches today. We're here today to officially launch CornellNYC Tech and to make this Tech Campus a reality. In less than 2 months, we will begin moving into this fantastic building, and in the fall, we will welcome our first students and faculty. It's hard to believe, Mayor, that we only won this competition in December, but as you keep reminding me, things move pretty quickly here in New York City. So we've been hard at work like any startup. We put a leadership team in place that I believe is second to none, beginning with Vice President Kathy Dove, who I saw somewhere right here, and founding dean of CornellNYC Tech, Dan Huttenlocker. Just as Larry had this idea in the middle of the night, the idea of locating the campus in this wonderful building arose out of discussions that Dan had with Google executives in early January, soon after the competition, the winner was announced, about our shared interest in accelerating the growth of the tech sector in New York City and working together in support of tech. Earlier this month, we also announced Thomas Main, a Pritzker Prize-winning architect, will design the first academic building, and we are expecting and knowing we will get great things from that. And of course, we've been getting to know our new neighbors on Roosevelt Island, thanks in great part to Councilperson Lappin, learning about the great history of innovation on Roosevelt Island and doing everything we can to make the tech campus a benefit to that community as well. Coming right after Internet Week, this announcement is very, very exciting for all of us. The mayor spoke about the Made in New York digital jobs map the city released last week, and looking at it just shows that thanks to Google, we are launching this campus in what is really becoming the center of the tech universe. When a company like Google makes this type of commitment to New York, you know that there is real movement toward critical mass for the tech sector in this city. The proof is all around us. So many terrific companies are finding this the right environment now and for the future. Major tech companies like Google and Facebook and eBay have now significant presences in New York City. And there are the homegrown, well-known companies like Tumblr and Foursquare and Etsy, and then the literally hundreds of newer, smaller tech companies that now dot that digital map. Mayor Bloomberg and companies like Google have recognized, though, that there's one missing ingredient: a larger pipeline of top-level tech talent. And of course, that's where CornellNYC Tech comes in. Creating a tech campus in New York, we believe, will go a long way, but we've understood from the beginning that just locating students and faculty here will not be enough. We need to create a new academic model for this time and this place and this industry. And that's exactly what we are going to do. The key, we believe, is engagement between world-class academics and companies and early-stage investors. Co-location is critical, connecting academic research and industry in a sort of a mixing bowl and seeing what happens. That's why we'll be creating on Roosevelt Island, and thanks to Google, it's what will be happening starting this fall, just 2 blocks from the F train that connects New York's tech communities in Dumbo and downtown Brooklyn with the Flatiron, Chelsea, and soon Roosevelt Island. This terrific space will host classes, yes, but it'll be so much more. We will open our doors to the surrounding tech community, holding hackathons and workshops and mentoring opportunities. It's about converting the relationship between academia and business into a true collaboration that produces entrepreneurs willing and qualified to hit the ground running. The adventure begins this fall. Thank you again to Mayor Bloomberg and to Google and to everyone here for making this a reality. And now it's a great personal pleasure to introduce Craig Gottesman, who is representing our academic partner at Technion. Craig is a professor of computer science at the Technion Israel Institute of Technology and founding director of the Technion Cornell Innovation Institute, and today is also representing my partner, Technion President Peretz Levy. Craig.
Thank you, David, Larry Page, Mayor Bloomberg, Congressman Nadler, Congresswoman Maloney, and Councilwoman Lappin. As David said, it's hard to believe that barely 6 months have passed since Mayor Bloomberg announced that Cornell and Technion would found an applied sciences campus here in New York City. I can share with you that back home, in Technion, in Haifa, and in Israel, the excitement that this project has generated has been enormous. To date, only 2 universities and the City of New York have been involved. Both Cornell and the EDC have been wonderful partners, and we look forward to continuing to work with them. But this is not enough. For an applied science campus to succeed, we need also close interaction with the high-tech industry, local, national, and international. So announcing today that our campus location for the next few years will be in the heart of Manhattan's high-tech zone, and specifically here in the Google building, which is one of the largest centers of high-tech activity in New York City, is a big first step towards this goal. So on behalf of Technion President Peretz Levy, I would like to express our gratitude for Google's extraordinary support of academic research and education around the world, and the incredibly generous support of the Cornell Technion partnership here in New York City. The Technion is thrilled to be part of New York City's exploding tech scene. As an international institute, I can tell you that there is no other place we would rather be, where there is more tech-related energy being generated and more tech-related activity is happening, and there's good food as well. I look forward to growing the Technion Cornell Innovation Institute, the TCII, which will be a key component of the CornellNYC Tech campus here in New York City. Together, founding director Dan Huttenlocker, Vice President Kathy Dove, and myself will be building a powerful presence here in New York. Like you saw in the video, New York City's success is all about the power of place. What happens when entrepreneurs, established companies, and investors are in close proximity, cross-pollinating and investing in ideas? This has been our experience also in Israel, where an array of incubators, venture capitalists, entrepreneurs, and established technology companies, including Google, have grown around the Technion and taken advantage of the steady stream of engineering talent that we generate. So Cornell and Technion will play a similar role here in New York City. Our partnership will fuel and be fueled by the dynamism of the technology sector that surrounds it in this building for the next few years and once housed permanently on Roosevelt Island. So speaking for President Levy and everybody at the Technion, we are proud to be a part of this extraordinary academic partnership with Cornell and to be here in New York City. Thanks again to Google for their generous support, and thank you, Mayor Bloomberg, for your ongoing commitment and support of this project. Thank you.
I'd like now to introduce Congressman Jerrold Nadler, who represents our district here on the west side, and Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, who represents New York's 14th district, including the site on of the new campus on Roosevelt Island.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting to be here as we begin a great step. New York City has gone through many, many phases over its several hundred-year history. It grew up as a port and a trading center. It became a manufacturing center. It became a financial center. And now it's going to become a technology center. And for that, we thank Mayor Bloomberg's foresight. We thank Larry Page and Ben Fried and the Google team. We thank President Skorton, Director Gottesman from Cornell and the Technion. It's the next step. We have to diversify our industry and our economy. We have to participate and lead in the technology developments that are leading the world. This will give us the ability to do so. It will make New York more attractive to all kinds of people, as it always has been. It's the next step in our evolution, and I'm glad to be able to be here to help welcome this next step and to help welcome Cornell and Technion, and to say thank you to the mayor for his initiative, to Larry Page and Google for their hospitality and for their cooperation, and to everyone for building up the tech center in New York that will be the next economic mainstay of the city, the region, and lead the country and the world in development. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A very, very special thank you to Google for your commitment to New York and to Cornell Technion. Thank you, Ben Fried and Larry Page and David Skorton. And a very, very special thank you to Mayor Bloomberg and his economic team for moving this project forward. It's so important to the economy of our great city, and I would say to the investment of future leaders in tech for our country. And I cannot think of a better place for this new school to begin its life than right here at Google, where they can gain real-life experience and concrete examples for their classwork that will be applied in meaningful ways. In medicine, they like to talk about research facilities doing bench-to-bed innovation. This is the high-tech equivalent, and students will have a chance to learn from the best, find mentors, and learn how brainstorming can be translated into real-world applications. I really look forward to the day when Cornell Technicon will open their doors on Roosevelt Island. But in the meantime, Google is a wonderful place for the school to be incubated. This is yet another example of Cornell's seriousness in getting this school done and its ability to make connections with the best of the best. And it's also a sign of the eagerness with which New York's high-tech community is welcoming this new innovative school. Google knows that the new school will be training the best students in the field, so they are smart to be getting in on the ground floor and partnering with Cornell right at the beginning, and just possibly recruiting some of these students to work right here at Google. Truly, this is a marriage made in heaven. Congratulations to Mayor Bloomberg and his economic team. Congratulations to Cornell for moving forward with a great partnership. And congratulations to Google, a wise commitment to an extraordinary new school. This is another great chapter in the history of New York. Thank you.
So we'll now have some time for Q&A with Larry, President Skorton, and the mayor. I'd like to note that we'll only be able to accommodate questions on the CornellNYC Tech announcement. After that, there'll be a photo op, a brief pause, and then the mayor will be available for questions on other matters. Oh, I should point out that we welcome questions from the members of the press here, as well as from Googlers who are also here and may have questions about the announcement today as well.
If it's possible, could the pop flight come to me and the line drives go to the mayor?
Sir.
Mr. Page, how many jobs could Google fill today if you could find the talent? Part two, do you know the market value of this space? Part three, do you intend to do this for any other tech entities, other schools, other companies who offer space in this building?
So the question was how many? Google hires, a very large number of engineering grads. We have several thousand people here in New York City, and we hire a pretty large number every year. So I think we'll continue to do that. I don't know the exact value of the space, but I think it's more than $10 million or so. So it's a significant commitment. I think that we were lucky enough to own this building. We bought, I think, for 1.8 billion or so. So we're a landlord for many tenants here, and so this gives us flexibility to make this commitment and to do it in a great way that I think benefits everyone.
Might you offer it to other startups or schools or anyone else?
I don't anticipate any others, but.
Ma'am.
Question for President Skorton. You talked in your remarks about creating a new academic model here with this partnership. I'm wondering if you anticipate any concerns from faculty members about sort of forging such a close relationship with a private business. I know that there have been a lot of conversations going on right now, especially when it comes to technology, about universities having too close ties to the private sector. Any message to people who may be concerned about this new relationship?
Well, it's definitely a concern, and we have to, coming from a medical background, I can tell you that watching for conflicts of interest and making sure that there are no decisions made based on anything but the right way to do things is critically important. Having said that, we're jumping in with both feet in this direction at Cornell. Every graduate student who starts on this campus is not only going to have an academic advisor from the faculty, but will also have an industry mentor from the very beginning, because I believe, that one of the ways for the country to grow itself out of a long recession is to feed the innovation pipeline and to work directly with industry. Of course, we're going to watch and make sure that we cut sharp corners and do everything in a way that we are proud of and will be open about, but we're jumping in with both feet.
What type of work is going to have to be done to the building here? Are you going to be building computer labs, and how much is that going to cost?
I guess that's a question for me. I'm mic'd, and I'm actually not completely briefed on that, but my understanding is we're initially building out a space that's going to grow over time. There's information on the amount of space in the press release that you have, and it's going to be a combination of teaching facilities and office space.
I'm going to make a comment, and I'll look for founding Dean Hutton Locker to go like this if I'm saying the wrong thing. But the philosophy of openness, open space, as Larry referred to, for example, the mayor's bullpen with a few rooms for private sessions and a chance to do things that would facilitate collaboration interaction, which is a Google trademark. I've had the honor of visiting the mothership many times, and this facility is exactly the sort of thing that we want to do. So we do not anticipate any major change in the way this is already set up, except that there'll be a lot more red on the walls.
Maybe are there any Googlers with questions? Oh.
Hi, my question's for Larry. So what sort of opportunities will there be for Googlers to get involved in the school here in the building and vice versa?
Well, I think part of why we wanted to do this is I think we just see a great opportunity for collaboration. And this came out of already collaboration. We have funding research and partnering with these universities. And I think Google, is a company born out of research university, as I tried to explain a little bit. And I think we just see a lot of benefits to that close collaboration, and so we're really excited to be able to host them here.
Thank you.
Sir.
Since we still want to recruit other tech companies here, is there any concern that Google will have sort of dibs on recruiting people from Cornell and have sort of outsized influence?
We wish, but I doubt it.
Well, I guess I would give you two comments on that. One, obviously, there's the opportunity because of the proximity of people getting to know each other. But how Google has acted around the world is to be very open to collaboration and to funding research at many universities. So this came out of one of the world's great technologically oriented universities, Stanford University. And yet the Google leadership, standing next to me, has had a very egalitarian point of view on many things, but especially on this one. They've been open to many different schools. So our idea is to have our space open broadly to the business community, and we've already tried to reach out, and we'll reach out more to those other institutions that the mayor mentioned who are part of the Applied Sciences Initiative. So I think that although there'll be proximity, I think that there'll be a chance for us to have our students start up brand new companies and perhaps work for other established companies. And of course, we hope somewhere in those ranks will be the next Larry Page.
Keep in mind also, we have some great universities that have been here for a long time. Columbia and NYU and Fordham and Cooper Union. I mean, there are lots of NYU Poly. There are lots of schools here that will benefit from this, but also for schools around the world. If you want to participate in what goes on in New York, we would love to have you come here. And the NYU Poly organization group has 5 different universities, Carnegie Mellon from Pittsburgh, but also 3 other universities from around the world. The whole idea is collaboration. The whole idea is being able to share. The whole idea is seizing opportunities, and whether that's a private company or a private sector company like Google or great universities, the distinctions that used to exist no longer exist anymore. Today, things are founded in universities and developed by the private sector. That's what America, that's what society is all about in this day and age. And one of the things to think about is Cornell understands this. Just take a look at what they've done in tech. It just happens to be biotech is what their exposure has been in New York City. But they're one of the real leaders in that part of technology. And the Technion Israeli Institute brings together also lots of expertise in more IT kinds of technologies. But all of these universities around the world now share with, recruit from, provide research services to the private sector as well.
Yeah, I was going to mention actually Cornell. I forgot to mention Cornell was one of the handful of places I applied to for school. So,
did you get in?
I actually can't remember. Do you know?
You know, we'll check the records, but we can work something out if you want to go back to grad school.
I was just trying to say that I think it's really a top technology school. Like I only applied a handful of places, and Cornell was one of them. So that's something we should say too.
So, President Skorton, you're having students come in the fall, so I assume these are grad students. How many are we talking about? Are they existing students, new students, same thing with the faculty. Are you bringing faculty in from Ithaca, or are they brand new faculty?
The question was, what are we doing this fall? And you're correct in the way you asked the question. We're going to bring down a relatively small number of current graduate students from Ithaca and faculty from Ithaca. We're going to use that experience to figure out all the different things that we have to do to make this work, and we will welcome our first new matriculants, people applying specifically for the campus in 2013. But we'll have a small number of students and faculty from Ithaca just in several weeks.
I think we had some more questions from the Google audience.
Hello. I was wondering, sorry, I'm a little nervous. You, you mentioned how technology, has helped save lives throughout the century. And given that Cornell has its medical school here, and given that, there's tons of research about how technology can aid in diagnosis and treatment, are there plans for collaboration between the new campus and the medical school?
I can say a little bit about it, and then Director Gottesman can say something about it. In the mayor's release of the request for expressions of interest, there was a specific focus, not on biomedical research per se, but on the tech sector to increase the pipeline. And as the mayor said, there's already quite a talent pool in this city in biomedical research. So the focus is really on the tech sector. But having said that, the planning between the Technion and Cornell is that we're not going to have departments on the campus. We're going to do this in a different way, established a new kind of academic model. We're going to have interdisciplinary hubs, we're calling them for lack of a better term. One is on the built environment, so green tech and architecture and building development. A second is on connective social media. And the third, to get to your question, is on technologies for a healthier life. And we will certainly pull in the great strengths in biomedical research at the Technion, at Cornell, and as the mayor very importantly said, elsewhere in the city. This city is overflowing with riches in biomedical research. If I can just take the moment quickly to comment on Larry's point about the accidents, about auto accidents and other kinds of accidents. This kind of public health issue, if I can call it that, is also an enormous generator of good ideas, like the cars that drive themselves and many other kinds of ideas as well. So we think another advantage of being in this city, which is such a ripe ground for thinking about this from many different angles, we'd like to pull in the point of view of public health officials, physicians, researchers, and so on. That's a long way of saying yes.
Well, let me point out also that traffic deaths will be the 5th largest killer in the world in a few years. Because of automation around the world, people are getting motorcycles and automobiles in places they never had them before, and it will be the 5th largest killer, something in the next 10 years.
So like David said, there are going to be 3 hubs of activity, academic activity on the campus. They're application driven. One of them is what we call the Healthier Life, which is basically medical technologies. And we have a lot of collaboration going between Technion, between Cornell in Ithaca and Cornell Weill, the medical school here in New York. And we're going to be working on that very intensely. There will be a joint research workshop on this particular topic on July 26th and 27th. There'll be people from Technion, people from Cornell, from Ithaca, from Weill, and there will be people from industry. So if any of you techies out there want to know more about this, I invite you to come in here.
Not techies, Googlers.
Googlers.
Anyone. Thank you.
So we only have time for 1 or 2 more questions, so I'll take one. Sir?
I'm just curious, what is currently in the space right now?
Googlers.
Have you had trouble renting it, or
Do you know anything about the New York real estate market?
I just did a meeting actually with Googlers before this, and they were complaining about compaction, which is probably not a good word. So we're actually quite full in the space we have. We're going to compact them a little more to make some room for our friends here in the new university. But absolutely, we're just excited about doing this.
A few years ago, I sat in that space. So I think this will be the last question, ma'am.
Hi, I'm on the university programs team on the East Coast here, and I was actually just curious at this amazing junction between academia and industry. How much do you think Google in particular will influence the computer science curriculum that's actually, moving forward and taking off? It's from a traditional perspective.
So first of all, I should say that Google has already influenced the academic curriculum.
Yeah,
If you look at the academic curriculum in computer science and engineering around the world, a lot of the stuff that was done at Google in the last years is actually already being taught there. It's turned into a classic. So in that sense, Google doesn't have anything to worry about. They've made the impact and the imprint. But having said that, there is still a lot more to be done on internet-based technologies, on search technologies. And one of our hubs, one of the 3 hubs that I mentioned previously, is called Connective Media. Connective Media means the new digital media in the era of connected networks, social networks, where everybody's connected to everybody, things are going to be done slightly different. So we do expect that things happening at Google and other companies as well will have an impact on what we do in that hub.
Thank you.
All right, I think that concludes the questions about today's announcement. We'll have some time for some pictures, and then the mayor will take questions on other matters.